Okay, welcome. Today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about tonal contrast, and we're going to push the mood and break down how we can set up the hierarchy between areas of focus and secondary and tertiary areas so that you can move the viewer's eye through your piece in the way you manage it. I look at it this way, and I'll just kind of diagram this out. My first idea here, the first idea is going to be, like in your case, is going to be your matrix, okay? We have a tree, we have some hills back here, there's a road that comes up here, there's a house that comes like this, there's another tree like this, I believe, a door, and a window up here, okay? So I've got this as my line drawing, and I'm being careful. I'm not sketching this out and saying, oh, it's kind of a tree, it kind of does this, I'm saying, no, this is my tree. Okay, this is the shape, because I want to know what this shape is doing. Well, when we get into shapes and stuff like that, we're going to start looking at a lot of those things as well. But right now, I just want to be clear. So we get these things, and then you're going to look at your matrix. You're going to say, okay, well, they need to read against one another. So I'm going to have either 2 or 3 values that are going to depict this. So I'm going to do 3 values. I'm going to make this dark, this medium, maybe I'll make these the building medium and the grass medium here, and then maybe I'll make the door, the window, a little bit of this Eve, and this dark, right? So I've got 3 values. So there's my 3-value matrix. So I'm clear on that. Now, when I go to the next step, I'm gonna look at it and I'm gonna say, this is my matrix with 3 values, okay? And then when I'm gonna look at it, I'm gonna say, what's the mood? Okay? What's the mood? What do I want to say in this? This is my design, but what do I want to say in here? How do I feel about this? Do I want to, if I sit down in front of this building and say, it's a bright day, and I want to show just the beauty of this mid-afternoon light, okay? Well, then I'd go from my matrix and I'd adjust my values in order to communicate that idea. If I am sitting there in that beautiful time of day, I'm going to know to look for, within those 3 value groups, I'm going to know to look for monitoring that. Am I going to move this? If I need to make an adjustment, make something lighter, do I move the building lighter, or do I move the ground lighter? Do I move the sky and building, or this down here lighter? Or if I need to make something darker, what is it that I adjust a little bit in order to convey that mood a little more clearly? So my mood would come in after my matrix, and then what I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at window. Okay, so at this point, then I'm gonna look at more subtle value groups. From those 3, I'm gonna break it down, and I'm gonna say, okay, maybe this is gonna be a little bit more exposed for the light. Okay, so maybe what's gonna happen is I'm gonna look at over here. Okay. Over here, maybe what I'm going to look at is this might be my value range, right? From my light to dark. Okay, so within my overall value range, I know if I'm going to expose it for the light, that means maybe my shadows are going to go pretty dark. Okay, so I'm going to reserve something for my shadows to go dark down in here. So I might use this. But I know I want more variety up in here. Okay, maybe I've got another dark that's in this range. Okay, but I want to have like the sky and the sidewalk, maybe they're going to be in here. And maybe the building is going to be in here, right? And maybe some of the distant bushes are going to be in here, okay? So if that's the case, then I'm going to eliminate these, get rid of these, and that means that my sky might be really light, and I might do something like that, okay? If the ground here is reflecting that, I might go to my lower end of this. The sky might be the upper end, and this might be the lower end. Okay? So I'm going to keep it within that range. I'm going to figure out, okay, where's my darkest darks in here? Well, maybe this tree down in here is my darkest darks. And I'm working with these ranges, and maybe down in I'm going to do the same thing here. So maybe this is some of my darkest dark in here, and maybe if there's a light hitting it, I'm going to stay within this range, okay, or go up into this range for this the tree, this kind of a tree in light. I might go into this range, but I also might like look at this range for the door, the window, and maybe this back here. That'll keep my distance. You see? So now I have spatial depth there, right? And I'm still working in this. Now, if I want to keep the sky and the building in here, then this building is going to be pretty light. It's going to be darker. It's going to silhouette against the sky. So maybe I need to go in here. So let's say building. Okay, so maybe I'm going to go there a little bit like that. Okay, and then the building, or maybe I go just a little bit darker in here for the grass. Right? Okay? So what I've done is I've started with this, and now I've expanded my range of contrast in order to create the mood that I want to do. So I'm still keeping my matrix, but what I'm doing is within each of these areas, I have a range of value now instead of just the 3. I've expanded that a little bit. So I maintain my design, and I'm getting a fuller values that can depict more of this situation. You do have to you do have to consider all these different relationships, and you can look at what's there, and you'll find that it will sit within a certain range. And if you just keep a gap in between, you'll keep clarity. That's what will bring you clarity. Okay, so whatever mood it is, you're going to want to look at that situation. If you're exposing for the light, you may find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 value groups. You might find that there's more value groups at the higher end. And because what's going to happen, you're going to have a large gap, and then there's a gap. Okay? And then you have separate dark. And compressed. Okay? So it could be 3 to 2. Okay? It could be 4 to 1. Okay? But you need a gap. You got to have the gap in there. Now, if you're going to expose for the dark, if I go down here, if I'm going to say, okay, you're going to see more detail in the dark end, right? You'll see a little bit more detail and a little more contrast in these darker values. So you might have more range of contrast in the low end. Okay, I'm going to slide this up. Okay, exposed for dark, more range of contrast in the low end. Of your gradient, okay? And then you're going to have a gap, and then you're going to go up to narrower range in so what's going to happen is when your overall light, you're going to use more of your upper end of your value ranges. When you're in your when you expose for the darkness, you're going to have more contrast in this portion and have fewer range up there, because what's going to happen? It'll burn out those lights. Okay, that's just the result of, if we look at it from a photographic standpoint, that's just what's going to occur. Okay. And, I look at this in terms of creating clear images. And I know the tradition for film has been to get broader and more broad spectrum of gradients in both highs and lows. So you see everything everywhere. But we're making artistic choices, okay? And we need to make these choices. So you can be clear about it. Unless if you want to do something photoreal, then what you're going to end up doing is you're going to use more gradients, more ranges of contrast within your overall gradient. Okay, from white to black, you'll just use more. Okay, you're going to still need to have gaps for clarity, but you'll just have more value groups or ranges of value.